Hello and welcome to this video screencast. My name is Scott Dennis, and today I will be showing you how to solve an issue that you might run into if you're trying to change the background image on your MacBook. So the specific issue that I am referring to is finding images that are not of the proper resolution, or just not, the original image is not large enough to fill your entire screen without it being warped or blurred in some way. So Clint here is on the larger side, and so he's able to fill the screen without too much warping or too much blurring of the image. However, if I were to find a new image that I wanted to make as my background, like this one over here, you can see that the original image is not very large. And so were I to try to make it fill my entire screen, it would probably have some difficulties. There would probably be some blurring, there might be some warping going on. So how might we go about getting this image to be on our screen still, but not look out of place? Well, if I go to System Preferences, I'm met with a bunch of different options. The specific icon that we're looking for is up here in the left corner, and it's called Desktop and Screensaver. When we click this, we're given the ability to choose between desktops and screensavers and to make adjustments based on whichever panel we're on. So we're looking to put a new desktop wallpaper in, and so we're going to stay on the desktop side. Now, I've already added the desktop, my actual desktop, as an available folder from which to pull photos. But just in case you weren't sure how to do this, I'm going to go ahead and delete this folder just to show you the process. If you just click on Folders and then click this little plus button down here, it will actually allow you to select any folder that you'd like, and it will show you the images in that folder that you can choose from to pick your new wallpaper. So we actually just want our desktop to be our quote-unquote folder, and so when we click desktop and then click choose, it will actually add the desktop to the list of options available here. And as you can see, at the moment we only have one image on our desktop, and it's our image of Calvin and Hobbes depicted as Chewie and Han. But when we click on this to select it as our new wallpaper, you can see that it's now blurred, it's a little larger than it's supposed to be, the image doesn't look as clean as it used to, and that might bother you. So how are we going to go about solving this? Well, if you look back at the Desktop and Screensaver page in the System Preferences app, you can see that there's a little drop-down menu here. And what this drop-down menu does is it allows you to select various ways in which you'd like the image to sit on your screen. So you can fit it to the screen, so we'll try to fit to be the exact size of the screen. You can stretch it to fill the screen. And as you can see, when we select these different options, it will adjust the image based on which option we select. So again, there's still a little blurry here. If we try to stretch it to fill the screen, you can see that the image is starting to warp. And so maybe we just want to put the image at the center of our screen and be done with it and say, okay, this is the original size, the image isn't going to be warped or blurry, it'll look fine, and I'd like to have this as my background. But now I'm in a situation where I have this image of Chewie and Han as my background, and the background color of the Chewie and Han image is this kind of deep crimson, whereas the rest of my screen is this kind of stark white. And I might be the kind of person who would see this and say, I don't know, this doesn't sit well with me. I don't like this as my background with these two stark colors on it. And so I might wonder, is there any way that I can get this area over here, this white area, to match in color to this red? Well, right off the bat, I will tell you that getting colors to match exactly can prove to be difficult depending on the age of your computer and the complexity of the image. An image that has a very complicated background, matching it to any sort of color would require basically editing the image itself. But there are some tools that are given to us on the MacBook which will allow us to get these two colors to be in a pretty similar state. So if we go back over to the System Preferences application, we can see that now that we've selected Center as our option for our image, this new little box has appeared over here. If I hover over this box, it says to me that I should select this so I can choose the color for the area around the picture. Well, that's perfect. That's exactly what we're looking for. So when we click on this option, it opens up a myriad of ways in which we might choose the color that we want to surround our image. We have a large color circle over here that we can drag and drop this cursor around and the background will subsequently change. We have red, green, and blue sliders. We have just standard colors in a list. We have this neat little colored pencil option over here. And so you might get over to this list and say, oh, perfect, red. The background of the image is red. I should just select red, and it'll fix this problem. So when I select red here, and then hide away so we can see our desktop again, you'll notice that this isn't exactly the red that we're looking for. It is definitely a red, but it doesn't seem to be the red. So the question then becomes, can we get this red any closer to this more crimson color? And the answer is that we can. So MacBooks come pre-installed with a set of utilities. And you can find these by going to your Finder and then heading to your Applications area. And down towards the bottom of your Applications list, you're going to see an option for your folder for Utilities. And if you open this up, it shows you a bunch of different utilities, a bunch of different tools that Apple has provided you just standard on their operating system. They think that you might need to use these to solve various problems, and so they just threw them in there for you. And one of these tools is called the Digital Color Meter, which is actually a really interesting tool. Now if we double click this and open it up, it opens up this tiny little menu over here in the corner. And you can see as I'm moving my cursor around the screen, the image in this box is changing. And so are these numbers over here. And you'll realize over time that this is really just a zoomed in version of whatever my cursor is hovering over. So what this allows us to do is hover over any specific image or any part of an image, and it will give you a readout of the red, green, and blue corresponding numbers. So when we cursor over this image, we can see that for the most part along the edges of the image, it ranges from around 146 to 149 in red. It stays pretty close to 0 in green, and pretty consistently pretty close to 27 in blue. Now, you might be looking at these letters and saying, RGB, this looks a little familiar. Well, you should be thinking that, because back when we were in our system preferences, one of the options open to us for selecting our colors was actually red, green, and blue sliders. Now, there's a small caveat here before you go any further, which is that you want your digital color meter readout to be as accurate as it can be, and there's a couple different options available for you. I would recommend just selecting the display in generic RGB because when you go back over to the system preferences, if you see this little gear next to the RGB sliders, well, when we click this, it'll actually give us a bunch of different ways that the colors can manifest. And one of those ways is generic RGB, which will match up with our color reader nicely. So if we get this out of the way so we can get back and see this image, we'll see that we're hovering around a 149.027. So we can now go into our screensavers and go to our RGB sliders and input those numbers, 149, 0, and 27. So in the first box we'll type in 149. In the second box we'll keep it at 0. And in the third box we'll type in 27. And now you can see that the color in the background area around my image has adjusted so that it matches pretty closely the color of the image that I had selected as my background. Now, those of you with very astute or very good vision might be able to see that the color is not exact, but it's significantly closer than where we were before. And so close, in fact, that you might be able to just go through your day-to-day operations and not even notice a color difference between these two if you're not focusing too heavily. So that's how you would use the digital color meter in order to show you what the RGB readout is for an image, so you might get your background color to match that image a little bit more closely. I hope if you had this issue, this video helped you solve it, and please keep your eyes open for more great content coming on my website. Thank you and have a nice day.